Have you ever thought about how many mentally deranged humans live in our small towns right under our noses? This topic should spark an interest because it will remind you that you could have a serial killer living right next door to you. Literally. William the Hammer Reinbold is a suspected serial killer that is currently doing life in prison for at least some of his crimes. Let's look at his life before convictions, some of the different cases that Reinbold has been either charged with or accused of, and his current life in prison. Reinbold always had a hatred towards women, specifically petite brunette women. In an article by a staff writer in the Galesburg Register Mail on January 18, 2019, it states that Reinbold had a heavy-handed father as a child. When Reinbold was a child, out of frustration, he would run up and hit girls in the back of the head with boards. In high school, he had a crush on a cheerleader who had long dark hair and was petite. He became obsessed with her and later ended up trying to strangle her, but failed because the teacher stepped in and stopped him. Reinbold was expelled from the school and was sent to a juvenile home to live. There's not much documented information on Reinbold or his life before the killings. There are believed to be several cases against Bill Reinbold, but only one has been concrete enough to stick in court. The first case that he was accused of was in 1970. He was accused of stabbing a woman in Elgin, Illinois. Then went on to burglarize a cosmetology school and then relocated to California. In 1979 and 1980, he was convicted on several assault charges for dousing women with chemicals out in California. In 1983, he was suspected of the kidnapping and the murder of Kimberly McCloskey. She was Mike McCloskey that owns Anytime Towing here in Canton. It was his little sister, and she was like 7 months pregnant when she was kidnapped. All the articles say a different month. It was between 6 and 8 months pregnant. But the police couldn't provide enough concrete evidence to convict Reinbold of being the killer. Finally, in 1991, he was convicted of kidnapping Mary Clark from the Farmington, Illinois laundromat. He delivered a dozen blows to the back of her head with a crowbar until he cracked her skull and sent bone fragments into her brain. This is how he received the nickname William the Hammer Reinbold. They found Clark's hair and blood in Reinbold's car, but this did not come easily. According to a case text article delivered by Justice Schrader on July 20th, 1993, there was a witness that had told police his name and described his odd behavior the day of the murder. The police went and questioned Reinbold's wife and son at their home in London Mills. Their stories showed many inconsistencies with the statements that they'd gotten from others. The police caught up with him at the car wash in Farmington, where they found traces of Mary Clark's blood in his trunk. I interviewed one of the Fulton County officers that requested to remain anonymous, who was on scene the day of the arrest. He stated, Reinbold is one of those men that you do not even have to interact with to get chills down your spine and know that there's something off. He's a man that is highly odd, and when you look in his eyes, you can see the horrible things that he is capable of. He said, when we arrived on the scene at the car wash with our warrant, it looked like he was having a normal car wash till we lifted up the carpet in the trunk, and Reinbold had built a fluid trap in his trunk that he would let the victim's blood drain into, and then would take the car to the car wash where he could pull the drain plug out and let the blood drain underneath the car so it was undetected. This time he didn't commit to his cleanup very well, though, because he left behind traces of the victim. Reinbold has talked his way out of several accusations because he knows how to work the system, but not this time. Police then went and searched the bus that Reinbold stayed in sometimes and found a crowbar with blood on it, and it matched as the murder weapon. As soon as Reinbold became aware of the bill that states that life is an unjustifiable sentence, he put in an appeal for an initial release from prison. In an interview with Phil Luciano for the Peoria Journal-Star on February 26, 2019, Reinbold stated that he had made this argument for an appeal on a law that is non-existent as of right now. This law is just a bill still pending in Springfield to be passed. Reinbold has made many attempts to appeal against his stay in prison, and I do not believe that he will stop until he is either deceased or he gets what he wants. The subject of serial killers living amongst us in our small town should be a compelling concern to each of us. We've taken a quick look at what he was like as a child, the reason we believe that he became violent, and his life in prison. Serial killers really are dressed as everyday humans, walking amongst the crowds of our towns. Now you know some of the signs to watch for. This is his picture when he was arrested for the killing of Mary Clark. And then this is him now. And he is still incarcerated. I think it's Southwestern.